288. Please rise in body or in spirit and prepare for singing and join us. Our second song this morning is number 326. Let all the beauty we have known. Number 326. Our third song this morning is number 313. Oh, what a piece of work are we? Number 313.
be open. Sing through my voice. Let the way be open. Sing through my voice. Play through my hands. Let the way be open. One more time. Sing through my voice. Play through my hands. Let the way be open. Let the way be open. Let the way be open. Let the way be open.
In the beginning, God created the earth. Or in the beginning, Star Woman came down from the sky and the turtle created the earth, brought it up from the mud. Or in the beginning, Tiamat gave her body to create the earth. Creation stories are at the heart of so much religion and mythology. Creation is holy. It's holy. And those of us who live in a monotheistic world kind of were taught that God was the creator, the one God, one creator. And I often wondered when I went to art school, and it was clear they were trying to call you down to one successful artist of all the hundreds that went there, because they had this idea of there was the star, the genius. I wondered how much that came from monotheism. I don't think I could put it in words at the time, but we live in a city in which stardom is a big deal, so I think about it a lot now. And I wanted to share with you today, when we think about creativity, a different theology of creativity, a theology that suggests what I think is true from my experience, that every human being that ever lived is touched by that divine spark of creativity, and that we all express it in different ways. When I was in theology school, one of the theologians that helped me understand and put into words my experience was the process theologian Henry Nelson Wyman. He was a Unitarian who taught at the University of Chicago in the 20th century. And he talked about God or divinity as a process, not as a person in the sky or even a transcendent feeling or being. He talked about it as a process that any person could be involved in. And the most personal process, how he described it, he called creative interchange. Now, creative interchange, he said, was the process of God. So creative interchange is any time a person is in fully present relationship with another, and a third thing is created. Now, there's a poem by Robert Bly called The Third Body that helped me think about what this third thing can be, because yes, when you create an object or a song or something like that, you can see it as the third thing. But that's not what Henry Nelson Wyman was talking about. He was talking that you are creating a created human goodness. And that was something that you couldn't necessarily see. So in this poem with Robert Bly, it's two people just sitting together, and they know each other very well, and he points out that they accept one another and where they are and their life. And sitting with them is this third body, a body you cannot see. A third thing that is they feel, but they cannot see. And I don't know if you've ever had that relationship with anybody, or quite honestly with anything, because I feel like I had that relationship with clay. I don't think I ever really was in love with the fire, but I did have that relationship with clay. And there was a third thing that felt really real, that was created in that relationship. But I also felt that when I had real relationships with people. And it didn't have to be somebody, it could be somebody that it took you years and years and years and years to have that relationship, but it could be somebody that you just met on the bus, and somehow you connected, and you felt that there was something bigger than yourself, and that it was there. It was the created goodness that came from that relationship. So Henry Nelson Wyman reminded people that all you needed to bring to that God experience of creative interchange was faith. Faith. Because when you meet with someone or something fully present to co-create together, you're not going to impose your will on that thing. You can try, but it's not going to work. It's not going to create greater good. You're not going to predict what's going to come out exactly. You're just not. Or it's not creation, quite honestly, right? Creation is about you've created something that wasn't there. So if you are in control, if you're dominating it, if you're making it do what you want it to do, nothing new is going to come out of that. So what you have to do is have faith in the process. Faith in the process of co-creation or creative interchange. So we actually create our worship services with creative interchange. Every month we gather together in the worship committee and the worship associates, and we talk about, this month we talked about creativity and what does that mean to us. And what comes out of that are ideas, inspiration, feelings that none of us had by ourselves. A third thing comes out of that. And as Elaine and I worked more deeply on it, we really wanted to understand what is the practice that we can all do to help us be part of creative interchange in our lives. Because that practice can be your relationship with other people, strangers, or a friend. It can be your relationship with food. It can be what you cook, the meal you cook. It can be your relationship with sound. We see that every week with people making sounds in relationship with maybe something was already written, right? So how do we practice being totally present to that and paying attention to the third thing? And the key word we realized was paying attention. We realized that paying attention to three different things is the key, is the practice. First, you have to pay attention to yourself, and that's what Elaine was helping us do with the meditation today, right? Paying attention to who we are, because there's no real relationship with anything or anybody unless the full you is there. The full you that you can bring to it is present. It's just the truth. So she did a good job of getting us to be that. Now, it's not just how you look, the full you that's there. It's not just how you feel or think. And it's easy for us to bring different parts of ourselves, because we're better at different parts, right? When you're bringing your full self, you have to bring the stuff that you judge, the junk, the things, that's what I mean. No, none of us have junk. It's like we think it's junk. We have to bring the whole self, the parts that we think is broken, and the parts that we don't know. The dreams, the longings, the desires, the curiosity, the dreams. May I tell your dreams? Yeah. Elaine asked me if I had dreams like this. I never did, but I love them because I think they show what we're trying to say here. She says, well, haven't you ever had a dream where you're in this house and you kind of know it, but then you open this door and you go in this room and it's fabulous, but you didn't know it was there? Right? Or she said, or did you ever have this dream where you're playing the piano? I totally have never had a dream playing the piano. And that you play this great music, but it's music you never heard before. Okay? That's that longing to know who you are through your creativity, I think. That's just, my opinion. So you need to bring your full self to that relationship to have creative interchange. Then you have to pay attention to that which you're in relationship with. Boy, did I have to pay attention to the clay and the fire. I had to pay attention. Boy, when I have profound relationships with people, those moments that I feel something more than us is there, I have to pay attention to them. I have to really listen. I have to be curious. I have to just feel, smell, taste, touch. I ask before I touch, but you have to really pay attention to the other person. So that's a practice. That's a practice of paying attention. And this is for me, I don't know, people talk about channeling, and they say they're channeling God or spirit, or the goddesses and gods. I think that's the feeling you have when you are really paying attention to yourself and the other. I think you feel that sense that something bigger than yourself and they are there. And it feels like God. It feels like some spirit is flowing through you and them. And it's this third thing. I don't know if other people ever have that feeling, but that's how it feels to me. So then you can practice paying attention to that which is created. Now, I want to separate, Henry Nelson Wyman being a theologian, it's important to him to separate an object that's created and what's really created, which he says is greater good, human good in the world. So, for instance, he thinks the most important thing, the part that makes it God, is that the third thing that's created is goodness, it's justice, it's love, it's generosity, it's understanding, it's wisdom, it's knowledge, it's all these things that, as the poet says, are there, but you cannot see. that third thing that you cannot see but you know is there. Right? But he's also very clear that if there is an object involved, if there's a poem, if there's a song, if there is an actual experiment that you've proved, from doing over and over again in your laboratory, if there is a thing that you can pay attention to that too. That's part of the practice. Indeed, he feels like all of culture is about us having access to the creations, the objects of other people. So we're still in relationship with those co-creations, I should say, because they're co-creations always. So you pay attention to the thing. Now, I truly learned more from looking at my work, my objects that I made, my sculptures, than I did from anything else. I would live with it. I'd have other people come in and tell me it disturbed them deeply and how awful it was, and I'd had other people come in and, say, oh, this is wonderful. But that relationship I had with it taught me so much, and that was really one of my clues that it really wasn't all about me. It was bigger than me. When I made a whole big series of these things, this is kind of a mock-up of, I had no idea what I was making. I called them, I would read mythology, and I'm making all these things, and I finally realized in Greek mythology, a sacred place they call it the omphalos. It's a sacred places that they call are the belly buttons of the world, and they would go to these places to worship. And I went, oh my gosh, I've been making omphalos. It looks like a very beautiful, it's very feminine, and I call it a belly button of the world. So, but I didn't know that's what I was making. I think the clay and the fire and me together knew what I was making. It was bigger than any of us. That's just an example. But I think that's true. We're going to be looking at different things this month about how we make a culture together, how we make social justice together. They all require, we have these visions of a new world, an anti-oppressive, anti-racist, anti-patriarchal world. We have these visions, but it takes co-creation to create them, because these are things we have not seen. Nobody in this room has seen that. And it takes co-creation. It takes trusting that together we can work together and make something that we know nothing about yet. That's trust. So, pay attention. That's all we're asking you to do. Pay attention to yourself, to the other that's in your focus at that moment, then to the objects that come out of that, and to that created good. Because you will learn from those things that are bigger than yourself, but part of yourself. And they will change you. And then they change the world. Because that third thing makes a new future. It refreshes, it renews, and it creates what we're walking into, a new world. As we go into this scary year, 2020, we have to have faith that we can do that together and be transformed. May it be so.
Please rise in body or in spirit and join me in our closing hymn, number 308, The Blessings of the Earth and Sky. Hymn number 308. The blessings of the earth and sky
The words for the chalice extinguishing are printed at the bottom of your order of service. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
I'd like to close with these words adapted by Susan L. Van Drescher. Let us hear the magic of imagination by which we know one another and learn the lies of eras gone by. Let us see the magic of creation by which we build the world of our soul and teach its wisdom to others, young and old. Let us co-create the magic of our lives together, holding and shaping by the movement of breath from heart to lung all new life that is to come. Go now, hearing, seeing, co-creating. Go now with magic in your fingertips. Touch this world with life. The service is over. Let our service begin again, renewed.